Your Nike Air Maxes stink for lifting. I'm gonna cut this shoe open to show you why. All right, so this is pretty cool, seeing the full internal construction of this model. Now, why does it stink for lifting? So it really revolves around stability, and we hear stability get thrown around a lot with footwear, but there's not a lot of context applied. So when I think about stability in footwear, I think of it from two different angles. There's the actual physical performance output point of it. So basically, how does a shoe make you feel when you are lifting heavy? Do you feel balanced? Do you feel stable in the context of feeling very well poised and very set in whatever movement you're doing? And then there's also the proprioceptive angle of it, which is how this shoe is going to allow your foot to feel the ground beneath you. If you can have more ground feel and more ground feedback, generally speaking, up the chain, so up your body, you're gonna feel more balanced and stable as well. So you'll feel a little bit more comfortable and stable moving through different ranges of motions and different exercises. And so now when looking at this shoe specifically, why does this shoe stink when it comes to stability? Well, for starters, the stack height is incredibly high. So the stack height is basically the amount or the height of material that separates your foot from the floor. So as you can see in the shoe, you have a stack height of over an inch going from the forefoot to the midfoot. So that means we are lifting the foot far from the floor and we're separating it with this big thick rubber outsole and this thick foam midsole and insole. So that's going to further your ability to feel the ground beneath you. You also have the component of how this shoe is pretty dang narrow. So when we are lifting, especially heavier weights, our foot wants to compress, it wants to spread, and it wants to be able to grip and feel the ground beneath us so we can create better balance. And so when we wear a shoe like this that does run a little bit more narrow, we can cut into our foot's ability to spread and splay. Basically, when we lift, our arches want to flex, compress, and react to whatever we're doing, and a shoe like this can hinder our foot's ability to be able to do that. No matter how much Nike language is in their product page that this shoe is going to be fantastic for training. Also, you have the component of how this material physically compresses. So this foam is going to compress as you load it heavier, and that's also going to hinder your ability to feel the ground and create balance and stability. So the further you take your foot from the floor, generally speaking, with shoes like this that have a ton of foam with their midsoles, or even like this Air Max Tech in the heel, you're going to lose out on stability and you're going to lose out on balance. You also have the component of toe springs. So in this shoe, you have a bunch of toe spring, which is essentially this rock in the toe. This is going to pitch you forward, and because the shoe is so thick, it's hard to ground the toes in this model. So for example, if you're cleaning, if you're deadlifting, if you're doing RDLs, the last thing you want to do is pitch forward because you keep falling into the shoe's toe spring. So that can also be a layer of how the shoe hinders your overall stability. So all that said, I wanted to make this video to highlight that there are features in shoes that often get languaged as being great for training that actually kind of hinder your training. And if we look at like a comparable option in the context of a training shoe that works really well for lifting, we can look at something like the Born Primitive Savage 1. Just by looking at the two shoes, you can see which shoe is probably better for lifting, which has less toe spring, which has a denser midsole and a lower stack height, which is going to give you more ground feel, which is going to give you a better means of creating more stability to the foot and to the floor. And so all that said, I hope this video helps shed some light as to what stability means with training shoes, because I think it gets thrown around a lot, but we don't really apply a lot of context. Like, does stability mean that the shoe is just dense? Because sure, this shoe could technically be dense, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to create more stability up the chain in the body once you start lifting and getting heavier with your weights. If you have additional questions on this video, hit me in the comments below. I also hope this video helps shed some light as to what to start looking for in your training shoes when you are really focused on getting the most out of them when it comes to stability and lifting. But if you have additional questions on this video, drop a comment down below or reach out to me personally, whichever you prefer. And as always, y'all, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.